And welcome to the 12th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. On today's episode, we talk to Patrick Gareau, all things musicals, dance, singing, and so much more. He's such a talented artist, and the only way I can showcase this is for him to do a cover of something that, unfortunately, we didn't get to do on stage. Yes, Patrick Gareau is going to be playing Bert in this cover of Prologue from Mary Poppins. So, without further ado, let's jump into that, and then let's jump into the 12th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast.
In the east, there's a mist coming in, like something is brewing, bound to begin. Can't put me finger on what lies in store, but I feel what's to happen, all happened before. A father, a mother, a daughter, a son, the threads of their lives all raveling undone. Something is needed to twist them as tight as a string you might use when you're flying a kite. Chim chimney chim chim, chiree chim chim.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 12th episode of the Little Thespian Podcast. In today's episode, we have Patrick Gareau, actor, singer, dancer. Literally, this man can do anything. I found that out in Mary Poppins. Thank you for being on, Pat. It's been a while, bro.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I've seen many of your episodes, and I'm really enjoying your content. So keep it coming.
I love that. But yeah, the support is crazy for this, and I adore it. And thank you. Because I don't think, I know the community's big now, you know what I mean? But, just a small episode that I take an hour of my day and just talk to people, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
It's nice to hear different people's voices on the matter of theater and
how people get into this
Mhm.
it floors me. Like, it's like, okay, well, I started when I was like 5,
Yeah,
or like I went to go see this thing. So I
yeah.
guess the first question for you is, how exactly did you get into theater?
So actually, it's kind of a funny answer and an interesting story. My answer to how I got into theater is pizza. Um,
Okay.
I enrolled in social sciences in my first semester of CJEP, not knowing what to do, as so goes the stereotype of social science students. And I saw a good friend of mine, Jeff, who was running by with 4 boxes of large pizzas. And I'm a big foodie, for those who don't know, and pizza is like one of my favorites, and I can never help myself from trying to get some more pizza in me. And so I come up to my buddy Jeff and I say, "Hey, where are you going with those pizzas? Do you think you have an extra slice, whatever?" And he brings me over. He's like, "I'm going to see my theater squad." I had no idea what a theater squad was back then. I was a jock. I was an athlete. All I did was sports, and I was basically a geek and a nerd at the same time. Um, so I follow him. I meet a bunch of people. Jeremy Lewis, a great friend of mine. Jeff was there. My friend Johnny, and I had pizza. The teacher, Andy Cook, was teaching the ALC theater workshop, and he asked me if I wanted to join in on the class and just listen in. So I did. After that experience, I went to every single class for the rest of the entire semester because I loved it so much. And then I joined into theater, and so the history goes, and now I'm here.
That's crazy, man. Like, I know Andy, like, we talk about Andy a lot on the show because of I mean, Andy Cook. But it's crazy because I remember seeing you. I think the first time I actually saw you act had to be Orlando,
Yeah,
which was, I guess, your first show with Andy,
it was.
correct?
It was my first show ever.
That's crazy, man. Because then you went on and you did Anything Goes and several other incredible shows. Innocence Lost. Yes, we need to talk about Innocence Lost because my God. But yeah, it's crazy. It floors me that that was actually your first show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had done like one class of drama in high school, just trying it out, and I was kind of an outcast in the class. I did monologues more than anything else. I wasn't trying to involve myself much with the group because I was like unknown to what it was. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was kind of fun. It was my first touch with it, I guess. But yeah, Orlando really got me going, and it was interesting because most of that show is very like I was a chorus member. I was in the background. I had to represent like the feel of the show and keep that going as an actor. So like at first I was like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? I'm just standing on stage blurting these lines, right? And after going through a little bit of prof, it was like, oh my God, every single word in that line means something different, you know? And it's
It's crazy because I know for me, again, I started off in drama class. You know what I mean? Okay, well, it's the class where you can kind of do whatever you want, right? And in high school, they're like, okay, well, go do improv. Okay, well, people just make fun of it at
yeah,
certain points. You know what I mean? But then moving into prof, I'm like, okay, well, you mean I need to actually think about every line that I'm saying, every word that I'm saying, why I'm saying it? It's like a whole different beast. And then you moved on to do basically the one of the main roles, if not the main role, in Anything Goes. So how was that jump to like turning into basically a leading man?
okay, well, so um, as I said before, I was an athlete, so I
Mm.
was a very disciplined athlete. I do like 6 to 8 hours of training every day, and so I already had a good work ethic, I guess. Um, and music has always been a big thing in my life. I'd try and sing every now and then. I'd love to sing. I'd play the guitar, and so I heard we were doing this musical. Um, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try really hard. I really like this, and I'm just gonna go for the lead of the show. And I worked hard. Um, Everyone else in the I could have seen so many other people do the role too from the cast that we had. It was such an amazing cast. Still one of my favorite shows. Um, and yeah, then the the hard work that was put in to rehearsals was even more than I thought it would be, and yeah, it was life changing. Really, it was like I went from being a background actor that had no idea what he was doing to, okay, um, sing this song and then go quick change in 5 seconds, come back and sing another. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Big change, but it was lots and lots of fun.
And Anything Goes is like iconic for tapping and stuff like that. So I know music, we're going to talk about music because you and music, bro, it's astonishing. But dance, how exactly did you get into dance?
Well,
Like, especially like with you being an athlete beforehand, how did that like shift over?
To like shift back the story, dance was actually the first thing I had in touch in the arts, other than the little bit of guitar and singing I did with my family and for like family reunions and stuff. I started dancing when I was in the 9th grade. I was watching videos of like people doing waves and dubstep dances and stuff like that, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I started trying to do that. I did it in my own free time. I didn't really show anyone. But then once I got to college, I joined a bunch of clubs. I went into the dance club and started working from there. So that actually kind of helped me, I guess, get that lead role in Anything Goes, because one of the biggest reasons I got it was because I was able to dance, sing, and act. Well, act at the time. But yeah, so dance was actually the first thing that got me in touch with that artistic side of myself. And yeah, so it brings back full circle.
That's crazy. So then the music had to come from basically your family reunions then.
Yeah, we used to, I grew up in the countryside, and we used to have these huge music parties that would last like 2 to 3 days. We'd have like dozens of instruments, and we'd just play guitar, sing, and my whole family would join in, cousins, uncles, everything. And so like that kind of brought me into it, but I still had no idea what singing really was. I guess I started dancing before singing, and like I played guitar, but you know, it's you travel, you try and get better and like progress. Yeah, singing has become, and any kind of music has become a little bit more in tune with me than dancing, but it was quite a journey. Yeah.
That's crazy. Like it's just I know for me, again, my story is very similar to yours, not in the fact of how music became part of my life, but the jock turning into like a theater major, literally my story as well.
Yeah.
So it's crazy to think that like we could like I know with family reunions and whatnot, you guys putting in music, but not even knowing that it would eventually become something that you'd major in and go into college, and it's crazy to me.
Yeah, yeah, especially because I had no idea what I wanted to do, and like graduating from high school, I was like, hey, I like physical work, I like stuff like that. College, that's studies. I'm not sure, blah blah blah. But then you look back at like your childhood days, and you think, okay, wait, like I learned to play guitar at 12. I was taking classes, I was loving it, and I wanted to try and sing, and then like it comes back, and you're like, wow, okay. And that's when it hit me. That's when I started playing guitar every day and just singing. And it's kind of like that discipline that the athlete brought into me also made me be able to work on whatever I want to work on in the future. So it's it's like the stereotype jock going to the complete opposite, you know.
It's like a movie literally coming to life.
Yeah, yeah.
High School Musical literally coming to life. When you think about it that way. But
that I need to play Troy.
No, bro, like it's crazy. I never knew your story, but I find that talking to other people is either they bring it up like early in their life, or it's something that just sparks.
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
for sure. And actually, when we joined into prof, that being professional theater for anyone who's listening to, um, it was the first class. They asked us how we got there, and we went through like half the class, and everyone going, "Oh, I've been doing this since I was 5. I was in Wicked. I was in this in high school," and I'm like, "Hold on a second here." But yeah, it was very interesting to see everyone's different, because it still all ties into the same thing, and it's like theater's just for everyone. Anyways, like anyone can do it. I think everyone should, just because it helps you be in touch with yourself and everyone around you.
Oh, for sure. I completely agree with that. It's also, I feel like theater, once you're on that stage or once you're acting, you find the parts of yourself that you never knew you had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you said to me, you're gonna have no shirt on,
Yeah.
last show,
Great.
and you're just gonna go and you're gonna be bleeding and whatnot, I'll be like, that sounds terrifying. But it was honestly one of the most challenging roles I needed to do, because I actually needed to, wait a minute, Matthew's an actor. You know what I mean? Matthew needs to go and do whatever he needs to do for the show. You know what I mean? And like, it challenges yourself. And I feel like everyone should definitely do it.
So like getting in front of the people and then doing that. I know as like most actors don't really think about that part once they've gained some experience, because it's like, okay, it's showtime now. I'm excited now. I'm like, I'm ready. But in your first startups, it's always like, oh my God, I'm doing it in front of a crowd. I need to, and it's like, once you get that through, you just kind of find some sort of inner, I call it a quiet confidence, where you just know who you are, and it kind of helps you in a way, I think. I mean, it helped me personally get up on that stage and just be in front of the crowd and having people in front. It was life-changing.
Oh, for sure.
Difficult.
And I know, like, what I do before I go on stage is the last thing I say to myself is go out and play, because realistically, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're playing towards people or whatever. You know what I mean? And literally anything can happen. But it's the fact too, where it's like, they're here, they paid money, or they might have not paid money, but they're here to watch you do the story. You know what I mean? So it's basically that I need to play someone, or I need to play a part in this story to further tell a story that everyone needs to hear, because usually every piece of literature that you are going to do a play on had some other hidden meaning. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, I think everyone can agree on that.
Like, I mean, it's crazy, but yeah, it's something everyone should do. Talk about that.
Go off topic. I'm sorry.
No, bro. Honestly, like, yes, it needed to be said. It needed to be said. Also, what needs to be said too is I have 2 things here. Props. In regards to people in Montreal, who, you know, we were talking about this right before we shot. We are coming to a very scary part in the pandemic. So guys, please wear your mask. My God, wear your mask. Oh. Always wear your mask. Hand sanitizer. You guys need it, because we are in a pandemic, global pandemic. I know I keep saying it often in the show, but we're going through something of which hasn't happened in our lifetime for a reason. It's crazy. It's something that people are dying from. So please take it seriously. We're almost in red, guys. And red is not a good color. It never is when it comes to big things like this. It's a beautiful color when it's not something that, you know, is life or death. But please, guys, take the pandemic seriously. Do what you need to do so that we can eventually get out of having to do Zoom meetings, I can actually go and talk to Pat. Yeah, so please, guys, do your part.
Yeah.
To shift gears off that, Mary Poppins sadly closed because of the pandemic. How was taking on such a iconic big role in a Disney show at John Abbott for Mary Poppins?
That's interesting because now that you mention it, I never thought of it like that.
It definitely is, bro.
Never. I know it might seem like baffling that you didn't think Bert was an iconic Disney role. Well, it's not that I didn't think it wasn't. It definitely is. I just never put that pressure on myself. I never allowed myself to think like that. I just thought, okay, Bert's another character. I'm gonna analyze him. I'm gonna represent him the best way I can and be as honest as possible. And that's usually what pushes me to like do the acting and just discover this whole new person. And Bert was incredible amounts of fun because he's just a happy, giggity person who's a gentleman and a scholar. Well, not really, but he's everything and anything. So it really felt good because I felt like I really fit the role very well. I very much see myself as a jack of all trades, not to say that I'm good at everything. But yeah, and I don't know. I never thought of it as iconic. I just kind of went with the flow. I saw Mary Poppins as being like the big everyone's gonna, but I found some fun and some playing I could do with Bert because like if you saw the Broadway shows, they did it very, very differently from how Dick Van Dyke did it in the movie. And many people see that, and then they're gonna see the Broadway show, and they're completely different, and every actor does it differently too. So I didn't really try to put that pressure on myself by saying, okay, it's a big Disney character. It's not. It's from a book that was written in like way back and it represents something totally different. So I'm just going to give it my own twist, you know?
Yeah. No, honestly, bro, I wish that show, because that was going to be one of my favorite shows I was going to do at Abbott because of the fact that it was just so fantastical. Like fantastical, let's put it lightly. Like, okay, everyone knows.
I've always wanted to call it perfect.
But then it would be kind of, then we make it a pun because we say it'd be practically perfect.
Yeah.
But it's the fact like we have like I remember Jason literally coming up to us and being like, okay, we can do this, but can we? Can we? Okay, don't worry, we're gonna add that in later. You know what I mean? And that's the type of theater I love, where it's just like it's so unpredictable. You know what I mean? Where it can just be anything.
Yeah. Well, anything can happen. But something that was kind of freaking me out actually, because we were very close to opening, was that I wasn't sure if we felt fully ready. Everyone was in the mindset. Everyone knew their stuff, but I felt like the show was still. We were this close from getting our full on stage rehearsals. So I can't really say I know exactly what it would have been like because we still haven't experienced that, and it's a whole different show when you get it full through and on stage with costumes too. Oh.
The costumes were amazing, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I really wish that it could have been seen. Just the costumes, man. Like the
amount of
everything in that show floored me. But sadly, unfortunately, it didn't work out. But my God, it was a blast, and I'm so glad that you got the opportunity to play Bert for the time being. You know what I mean?
I'm just thankful I got to rehearse with such a great group of people, and we're all still in touch. So that's it feels good.
It does. And that's the thing I also love about theater, just a community. Like, you know how they say in prof, where you go from one family to the next.
Yeah.
But I find that when you do that, like there's just a thread that you kind of go through, and it's just you have those same people, the core people that you talk to the entire time or whatever, and just continues. You know what I mean? And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it.
And it's like it's kind of funny because you can watch interviews of Broadway stars or people who are on the big stage and whatever, and they'll be saying that they've talked to other people from other shows and that they've been in other shows with them, and everyone's kind of still connected, even though people see different shows as being like, okay, this guy versus this guy. They probably know each other and talk to each other too. And it's like every family that you go through, you still leave that thread and you still have that connection. It's just, it's wonderful. It's the connection of people that is what theater is, right?
And I was talking to Thomas about this a couple episodes ago. That's also how you get your new jobs too. You know what I mean? It's in the connections you make, but it's also how, like, people can see it when you're acting or whatever, the chemistry that you've built over the rehearsal hall and beyond. You know what I mean? So it's also that, you know what I mean, where, okay, this guy I can work with, or this part seems like the part that's in my show. You know what I mean? Like, it
People will think back on you when they're trying to write something new because they'll just see, oh my god, I have a friend that is kind of like the character I'm thinking about, you know?
exactly. And it's crazy because, like, it doesn't even need to be, it could just be the character you're doing. You know what I mean? And then you're like, for some reason, everyone, even if you play the same character or whatever, every time you do it, it's different. You know what I mean? So it's kind of, maybe that night is like your perfect night to showcase this part of myself or that part of myself. And then magically there's somebody in the audience that furthers your career.
A whole different part too, because every single audience member is also getting a fully different perspective of the show, and everyone gets affected by it differently too. So,
And that's why people love live theater,
yeah,
because it's different every time.
yeah,
For film, okay, that one take that I did, that's going to be on it. You know what I mean?
right, right. Not to diminish film at all. I love
No, of course.
too many movies, but it's 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 great. Like you can finish a show and be like, oh man, it was not my greatest singing performance ever, and then you walk out of the changing room, makeup off, costumes off, in your regular clothes, sweatpants and whatever, and you get greeted by, I don't know, a friend or even a random person who says, oh my god, that really touched my heart. And it's like you're still thinking you didn't do a good job, but yet you still managed to get through to someone and show them the beauty of whatever's been trying to be given to the rest of the world, you know?
Mm. No, it's crazy. The stage door is what they call it in Broadway,
Right.
where you're just you come out and then you're greeted by people. And the thing that I loved about Abbott too is there's this big door, that you leave from, and you always had. Doesn't matter if it's a matinee, doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock, if it's 3 o'clock, even if it's 11 o'clock. There's a group of people there. And honestly, the community at Abbott, I'll say it till the day I die, it's incredible. It becomes an actual theater family.
Yeah.
And how was basically not changing the family per se, but how was taking ALC and then moving on to Prof? How was that jump, from ALC to Prof?
Well, I'm gonna say 2 points because after that I did go from prof back to ALC, arts, literature, and communications. The first time I switched into prof, well, the only time I switched into prof, I auditioned alongside Jeremy Lewis, Tristan Corey, and Lavianne Flynn, who were also in the production of Anything Goes. And we all auditioned to be in the same year. So it was kind of like I was just transitioning into a more intense class, but basically the same. And at first I had all these friends already because we had been in a show together, but then the group grew because of all the new cast members, and it was great though. We still kept it pretty close. I still talk to many people who I played with in Anything Goes. Some of them are still some of my closest friends. And yeah, it was weird though, because I don't know if this is the same experience for you or for any other theater person out there. After that first year of professional theater, you kind of come to a lot of realizations of like, okay, you really need to do the work. And it's like almost everyone I've seen that go through the program has that first year of like playing around, doing the thing, and then the second year of going, whoa, I regret not working hard enough on my first year. And
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's the fact where in first year, you kind of get thrusted into this new world.
Just thrown in.
And you can either sink or swim. And unfortunately, there are people that sink.
Supports.
Huh?
There are very many good supports. I find there were some great teachers that were very supportive even when people started to sing. And especially, that being said, everyone in the class too. But yes, continue.
It's true. Like, in regards to the teachers, they also have very truthful talks with you where they're like, I don't know if this is for you. I don't know if it is for you. You're going to have to decide. Mm-hmm. And I love that they're that supportive. But it's also the fact too, if you're not going to put in the work and if you don't really want to be there, you'll see in the academic part of it. You know what I mean? Because it still is a school, right? You still need to do journals, still need to do these things. And if you don't, you're going to see it in second year, because second year that hits because, okay, well now we're actually doing a show. It might not be big in the first part, but you know what's going to happen in the second half of the semester. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where you're going to be like, okay, well now we're doing a show with the third years. And that's intimidating because you're like, I've basically been doing it towards my class and a couple of audience members. Well, now it's on stage. So that becomes stressful for people who might have not done anything beforehand. You know what I mean? And then third year hits and you better have all your ducks in a row come third year. Because if you don't, it hits, because that's business. That's when that's when you're showcasing yourself, right?
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it definitely prepares you, is the best way, I guess, to put it, for the real world.
That's what I wanted to mention too, is that like you sink or swim, maybe this program is for you or not for you. Those are very important questions for someone to answer, because once you are done with school, you have no more free shows, I guess, because you were in a program, you were getting cast unless you were not doing the work, right? So in the real world, you can do the work and still not get cast. And it's like they're trying to prep you for that real world. It's like that second year realization, second year, third year realization, and then third year real world. It's like you went into theater, it was a big jump. You went into second year, it was like, oh my God. You went to third year, like, whoa, okay. And then you reach the real world and you're like all the way up here.
It's true, because I've said it on here before and I don't sugarcoat anything on the show. It's not it's a fun business to be a part of, but you hear more hear more no's than you do yeses. And the reality is there are so many people that want to be in the entertainment business, no matter if it's film, no matter if it's theater, whatever form it may take. So many people want to be a part of it, and it just might be that one time you go on audition, or it might be that one day that you had something beforehand and then you're out of it a bit or whatever. That might cost it. It's how it is. But to go off of John Abbott, I highly suggest, if you're anywhere near Montreal, I know people from Calgary that came over. I know people from many other places that have came here to study. Reason why: one, it's a bit cheaper, I guess. And two, it's very well known now in regards to theater here because of Cirque du Soleil, because of big things like this. Go to John Abbott. I'm going to say it because we also Dawson. If you want to do all parts of theater, Dawson does them all in 3 years. However, you can kind of pick and choose at John Abbott. So I suggest you go to John Abbott because you can literally just study in the one thing you want to study in. So anyway, that was a nice plug. But yeah, I agree, bro. It's crazy how
program, but it does prep you for the real world, and it's realizing that even if you're doing a small part, or even if you're not getting a part, that you're gonna get a part someday. And it's really, it doesn't matter if it's in front of 5 people or 300. It's a story. It's being told. You can be a theater entertainer every second of your life. You can go out on the street and perform. And it's just coming to that realization that, like, even if I had so many no's, I'm still gonna get some yeses. And it's just never giving up.
It might not be like you might not get the role that you want now, but it's the role that you need for later. That's the way I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, as much as I like at Abbott, I didn't have a leading role. I was always ensemble and whatever. But my God, like the amount of roles that I actually did during my time at Abbott, that's the way I like to look at it. I'm a character actor. Yeah. Therefore, I can play many other characters. You know what I mean? So, like, just embrace the yeses when you get them, and the no's, just forget about them. I know it sucks to say, but
sometimes they're just not looking for you. They're looking for something different, and every director sometimes has something different in mind. I was actually speaking of this to a friend of mine, how you might get a no, but it's not necessarily your acting. It's not necessarily your singing or your dancing. It's just not the view that the director has for the piece that was written. And you have to respect that and honor that, because if he doesn't see it as being the most honest way to tell the story, then you're not fitting for the character anyways. So it's kind of doing you a favor in a sense.
Yeah.
No, but like, not really. You still want them.
Oh, of course. I mean, I wish I can go to every audition and get it, but unfortunately, it doesn't happen. But I guess like we've been talking about words of wisdom for sure. But do you have any like words of wisdom, people that might want to actually jump into the world of theater?
I'd tell you, you don't necessarily need to make a career out of it, as many people try to do it. I'm trying to do it, and that's often the dream that people who go into theater have. But I don't think you necessarily need to make a career out of it. Some people enjoy theater, enjoy doing it, but they don't need the stress of getting those no's and yeses, and they won't necessarily have as much passion. But that shouldn't stop you from doing theater. Just do what you're comfortable with, and even if you're a shy person who's just trying to help themselves open up a little bit on stage, you can do community theater, you can do anything. And as I was saying earlier, I very much support everyone doing theater, because it keeps you in touch with yourself. So yeah, don't necessarily focus on making it a career as soon as possible. Try and learn as much as possible first, and be the wisest person when it comes to it. That's kind of how I view it.
No, it's great words of wisdom, man. It's as much as everyone wants to be a part of it, it might just be to, like you said, open up. And a lot of the people that come into theater are sometimes a shy person, where it's just, I barely talk to people, but when I'm on stage, I'm the most boisterous, over the top person. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
does happen. And I don't. I have to say, the fact that we keep saying that everyone should be doing theater. Um, I fully support that. Where it's just like there is community theater, there is being the stakeholder in the back, but just facing a crowd or facing people, it does something. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is, but it does something.
Being a part of the experience, it's like being in part, like in that community, it feels good. And especially because a lot of the messages and morals that come out of these stories that are told in theater are good feeling, and try to depict something that's beautiful or ugly, because theater is a mirroring of nature in a sense. um so yeah, so it's like it just keeps you in the moment, and you're living, you're in it, you're doing it. That's what acting is, right? So whether you're a stakeholder being a tree, you're the best tree I've ever seen. You can be the worst tree I've ever seen. You're in the moment, you're being your tree, you're being your own self.
Yeah. I have two more questions. I wish we can do this forever,
Right.
because my God, this is a very educational thing that I feel a lot of people should take with them, is the fact that be your authentic self, be who you are,
Yeah.
and if you can just go on stage, if you want to go on stage and express yourself, that might be a good way to showcase who you truly are. um, I'm going to say who's coming on next week first. So on next week's episode, we have Mia Cooper Graham coming on.
Hey.
I can't wait for Mia to come on. She's such a bubbly personality. On Lucky number 13. And she did Little Shop of Horror. She's done crazy things at Abbott and beyond. So I can't wait to talk to her. But to go back to episode 12 with Pat, what has been your most challenging role you've needed to do or have done at Abbott or wherever? And what has been the most expressive role you've done, like the most just joyful role you've had at Abbott?
Okay. The most difficult role I had was in my second year at John Abbott. Well, second year in professional theater at John Abbott, in which I was playing a young man who finds a dead body. And it was a very emotional play. It was a very connective ensemble piece, and it was very difficult to find that part of myself, that fear, because I don't really, not a very fearful person in general. So having that, and going into rehearsals on my own, sometimes just in a studio for an hour, a half hour, 2 hours, whatever the amount of time was, and just trying to picture myself being afraid, was very difficult for me. It was very challenging. And after my assistant director workshopped me for, I'd say, about 20, 30 minutes, something clicked, and I started working on it, and that actually helped me progress as an actor, and discover all the different ways of getting in touch with different emotions. So that was definitely the most difficult thing. But the second one was the
Most rewarding.
most rewarding.
Yeah.
Most rewarding. Most rewarding. It's difficult. Bert was amazing. I felt so in touch with myself, because I dance around all the time. I sing around all the time, and I like to be jolly. So it was very much just, okay, learn the way he talks and be yourself. That's kind of how I saw it. So it was very rewarding. But there was a play I did called Them Good Old Boys. It was a fringe at Montreal Fringe Festival, in which I was playing a rock star called Tommy Alsop, a Texan who was traveling with Billie Holiday and making music and part of his band. That was very fun. It was right after Anything Goes, so I still didn't have much experience under my belt, and I was just living in the moment and teaching myself how to get a Texan accent, teaching myself a bunch of songs on the guitar, which were a very different style of play from what I usually play. Was also a very rewarding role, and I came out of that feeling very good about myself because it was the first time I went out of school to find something, and it was I also got paid for the first time, so that's always rewarding too.
Oh, for sure. For me, um, I first of all, both. I remember hearing about the Fringe show you were part of. Fortunately, couldn't go out there because I was a part of Fringe as well. But my God, the what was it called? The show you were just talking about, the other one.
Yeah.
My God, that show. I don't think I've left the studio watching a show and being like, my God, great job, guys. Like I'm floored. Like I think I just cried before. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
Um
I think
and
everyone was crying in the room after most of those shows,
yeah.
including the entire
And
cast.
like when you came in and you found the dead body, I'm like, wow, Pat. Wow. Like it hit.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, bro, you did a great job. So 10 on 10 on that. But yeah, it's amazing once you get out into the world of theater, and or any form of entertainment, and get paid for it. You're like, I feel accomplished. I feel like I did my job. You know what I mean?
Something many actors have not managed to do yet. Yes.
Exactly. And like, I mean, I was in a film recently, and I got paid for it, and I'm like, this feels so weird to actually just get a random BMO message from my director. You know what I mean? This feels very weird, but it's true. It's very rewarding, and I feel like overall, all the roles you do, it challenged you in some way. And I know Bert, my God, the amount of stuff you need to do, the cartwheels, the somehow having to play banjo.
Learning to play banjo in 5 minutes.
Literally, like, okay, you're gonna be just randomly playing the banjo when you come in. Wait, you mean what? But yeah. So the last question for you, and this was an outstanding question for a lot of people. How did you survive Mary Poppins, all the rehearsals? Because my God, bro, you were dead tired come the end of it.
It's kind of, I I'm very very active in a day to day, so it's pretty much just okay, instead of going to work or going to work out or biking, I'm going to rehearsal. Um, Not one to sleep much because I try to keep busy all the time and I have lots of stuff to do. So it was kind of an easy transition, especially because I was also um, I was just I was only taking a few classes. It was my last semester. I was trying to graduate, and so yeah, it wasn't that much. Honestly, it felt like it was the only thing I had to focus on during the semesters, and which really helped because all I wanted to do was focus on that. I did get the rest of my done classes, obviously, but um, no, it wasn't very challenging for me. It was just every time I think about it, I just wanted to be there. So it was just rewarding in itself to go into rehearsal and being like, okay, I'm at rehearsal now. We're about to practice our dance. It's like I was, every time I'd come out, I'd be listening to the tracks again and again. I'd be listening to recordings of myself singing the tracks over and over again to try and see, okay, this is where I got it right. This is where I got it wrong. I was coming out of class doing vocal lessons on the weekend, workshopping my songs for the show. And so I was just fully immersed in it, and it felt fantastic.
I bet. And like, you had so much with Bert. Like, Bert's literally in the show from start to finish.
Yeah.
So I mean, as much as in Anything Goes, you were a leading man. There were scenes where you were not a part of.
Yeah. Which was
And
different from Anything Goes, because Anything Goes, I showed up in every single scene.
yeah,
And,
but yeah, when you were Bert, I mean, I feel like you did Jolly Holiday, and then you magically went off, change, come back, and then I'd be like, okay, the only time I don't see, or when I can actually see Pat, is when there's like a family moment, and like I'm like, yeah, okay, okay, pass back on, okay, but yeah,
well,
and
it was kind of a narrator role in a sense, because Bert's all throughout the story, but he's kind of in the background. Like you said, I wasn't in all the scenes. Actually, I was probably only in half the scenes. Not to say that I was only in half the scenes, obviously, but that being said, I always had to be present as the narrator, and oftentimes, me myself, I like to immerse myself, as I was saying earlier, completely in the show, so I can be as honest as possible. So I'd sit on the side and just observe and try to really connect with everything they're doing on stage, because everything they're doing is then wrapping around with the narration I give a couple lines later. So I would take that, what's being done in front of me, and then do it right after. So I was just always trying to immerse myself, and no distractions.
honestly, like I'm gonna say it again. I wish the show could have happened, and I wish we could have saw Bert in his fullest, with the costume and whatnot.
Everyone in that show.
Yeah. Before we go, everyone a part of the Mary Poppins cast, if you guys are watching this, I might send it to our chat. We'll see. But if you guys are watching this, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys were an amazing cast, and I'm so glad I could work with you. And I know Pat is nodding because Pat also agrees. You guys were amazing, and I wish it could have happened. But we did get people to watch it. A lot of people did very good work on it, and you guys should very much be proud of what happened.
I'm so proud to see all these people.
And
yeah,
I mean, I don't think there's a better way to end it, bro. This episode has been practically perfect in every way. Thank you for being on, Pat. It was a pleasure talking to you, bro. It's been a while. I am so glad to have you on, because to pick your brain on all these things and to just jump into dance, singing, theater in general with you is always a pleasure. And as with every episode, I'm going to shed a light on Pat, even though I don't think there's a big enough light to shed on you. Yes, there you go. Pat, man, you're like one of the most caring people I know. And I'm so glad that you dove into theater, because it gave us a chance to meet. And we also had so many good talks in Poppins and beyond. I'm so glad I could work with you, bro, because we've been talking about it even before Poppins. It's been, bro, it's crazy that we got the opportunity, and I really hope eventually we can again. And yeah, thank you so much for being on, man. It is great talking to you as always.
Thank you for those kind words. Yeah, it was definitely a pleasure working with you too. And again, thank you for having me on.
No problem, man. All right, so thank you guys for being with us for this 12th episode. We'll see you guys on the next episode when we talk to Mia Cooper Graham. Thank you so much, Pat. I love you, bro. Talk to you soon. The lights are off. The curtain has fallen. And it's time to say goodbye. Thank you all for joining us on the Little Thespian Podcast. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to ask, either down below or on any of our platforms. On the next episode of the Little Thespian Podcast, we talk to Mia Cooper Graham. All things acting, all things theater, all things singing is going to be a great time, and I truly, truly cannot wait to talk to the bundle of joy herself, Mia Cooper Graham. It's going to be a great time on lucky number 13 of the Little Thespian Podcast. So if you guys are looking forward to that, please leave a like down below and let us know your thoughts on all our guests, either on any of our social platforms or in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching this episode. We are truly blessed with such amazing fans and amazing people who are just supporting us during this crazy time in our lives. Like I said, guys, please do your part during this pandemic. It is very necessary to keep us as a species. It's crazy to say, and I know it's a bit dramatic, but you guys are listening to the Little Thespian Podcast. So, guys, with that being said, don't forget to always shine bright and just be your authentic self. Thank you, Pat, for being on. It's been a great time talking to you. And guys, don't forget to like this video, to comment on this video, and to subscribe to us here on YouTube, and check out all our platforms down below, as well as our guests. This has been your host, Matthew Crandall, and I'm telling you guys to always shine bright, no matter what the circumstance. This has been Matthew Crandall on the Little Thespian Podcast. Thank you again for joining us, and we will see you all on the next Little Thespian Podcast.